watching Capitol Connection from the Illinois State Capitol.
Welcome back. We're joined now by House Democrat Stephanie Kifowit. Thank you for joining us this week.
Thank you for having me.
You were a Marine veteran, are a Marine. I don't think you ever really stopped being a Marine.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. So thank you for your service. You've also spearheaded a lot of the State House's focus on veterans and how the state interacts with them, how it treats them. Governor Pritzker on Veterans Day talked about 2 different veterans' homes. One in Chicago, he says, will be completed in the next calendar year. And he said that he's pushing forward as fast as he can to renovate and rebuild the veterans' home in Quincy, where we saw the Legionnaires outbreak back in 2015, I believe. From your perspective, what is the progress there? Do we have any updates on either of those 2 homes on the ground? Do we know what that looks like?
Well, I mean, as you said, we have very positive reviews of the Chicago Veterans Home to be completed in June of 2020. It's on schedule. Because of the Arroyo administration, it's a little over budget. As you know, the Arroyo administration halted all construction on the Chicago Veterans Homes, which caused we had to redo some foundation issues because of that. But it's set for June of 2020. In addition to that, the Quincy Veterans Home just had a letting. We're going out to bid, getting in those bids so that we can start construction as soon as possible.
And why is that so needed? Maybe it's an obvious question, but in that area, that part of the state, there hadn't really been a veterans home presence there. What is the current situation on the ground, I guess, in Chicago and in the broader suburbs with our veterans?
I mean, to be quite honest, north of I-80 has over 50,000 veterans, and all our veterans homes are in southern Illinois, so there definitely is a need to provide a veterans home. In Chicago, it's going to be a 200-bed veterans home. You
had an interesting recommendation in the last week of veto session this year, which was to recruit veterans to help look out for children that are in the care of DCFS.
Right.
What's the connection there, and why the push in this direction? What do you see as the upside?
Well, I think it's twofold. So CASA Illinois came to me and said, we really have good experiences with veteran child advocates. And one of that reason is because veterans are mission driven. So if you give a veteran a mission, our job is to complete the mission. And so to look out for these children that have been neglected and abused is an ideal mission that I think veterans will embrace and would really own, so that they are there for the children, because another facet of the military culture is leave no one behind. And so once a veteran is assigned and takes ownership of a child that is neglected or abused in the court system, they won't leave that child ever behind. They will stick with that child till there's resolved and that child's in a loving and safe home.
It seems that DCFS has perhaps the hardest job in the state of any state agency. It's a very complex job. You're walking into situations you don't often know the background or what you might find in the home, or what other tentacles of family or local neighborhood pressure there might exist in that household. What is your view on the direction and the success of DCFS right now? Are they doing enough to protect these children currently?
Well, I think what we're finding right now in the DCFS system is, first of all, a system that's now over 70% outsourced. And so what we're seeing now is some of the struggles with the privatization of some of these DCF issues. We just had an issue with children being shackled for 30 minutes, and that's against the law, and it was a private vendor that was doing it. So I think what we have in the DCF system right now is systematic problems. We have a high turnover of caseworkers, and definitely there's a lot of work that really needs to be done with DCFS right now, which is where the CASA system parlays with the DCFS caseworker system, because where caseworkers can turn over, we've seen cases of 3 or 4 caseworkers in a year.
So what does that look like from the child's perspective? Does the veteran come check in on them occasionally?
They're really the eyes and ears of the judge, so the judge can keep tabs on. So the caseworker is evaluating, and they work in tandem, but the court-appointed special advocate is really the eyes and ears and the voice of the child for the judge. So the child might share with the advocate something the caseworker might miss, or something that the caseworker might not view, and that gets relayed to the judge. So it's a very, very important part of the whole process with children that are neglected and abused.
It sounds like it really does take a village.
It does. It does take a village.
Very interesting. Also, something that the House has been wrestling with in the Senate, too, in these final weeks, has been how the lawmakers here will police themselves. There's been a lot of news in the last few weeks. First of all, can I just get your reaction to the arrest and the bribery charges that were leveled against one of your now former colleagues Luis Arroyo. What was your reaction to that news?
Well, I mean, utter disappointment and really a little bit of disbelief that somebody would actually venture down that road of bribery to enrich their own interests. It's really disappointing. To the whole standard, we need to hold ourselves to a higher standard, and I think everybody needs to strive to work in an ethical and a honorable way in this House of, the people.
Should the House pass a complete and total ban on sitting lawmakers also doubling as a lobbyist for any company in any capacity?
Well, I do think that sitting lawmakers should not lobby on a local level in any way, shape, or form.
On any issue?
They should not lobby local units of government, because we in the state can pass laws that can affect local units of government with regards to really any capacity in my mind. And I actually signed on to bipartisan bill to ban lobbying of that type. I think it's the best way to go.
What about the revolving door? Because there are some members who leave the House and the next thing you know, boom, they got this sweet gig at a lobbying deal, and they have relationships with all of you, and it's still very close, these relationships. Should there be a cooling off period or a 1 or 2 year window that sort of says no more revolving door? Lawmakers can't directly leave office and go cash out and get that big paycheck from the lobbying firm.
Well, I think that how lawmakers leave and choose their path in life is their direction. To be quite honest, just because I served with somebody doesn't mean that they get any special treatment from anybody else. I mean, the number one people that I relate to are my constituents and people in the district, and that's how I think everybody should be. If somebody, questionable character and doesn't, then that's their problem. But I think the number one equation is the people, and we need to do what's right for the people. So whether somebody, happened to have my cell phone because they were a state rep, now they're a lobbyist, that, to me, personally, that doesn't give them any other influence above anything else. They're just another person with my cell phone number in my mind.
I see. There's also a push from some lawmakers to, I believe it's a bipartisan effort, to say the legislative inspector general who presides over cases or complaints about sexual harassment, all the way to misconduct and abuse of power in office. It's a wide scope that this watchdog has, but she has complained, look, I can't even begin an investigation until the lawmakers that I could be investigating give me a green light through the ethics commission. So there's these 8 lawmakers. She's saying, let me start an investigation on my own and let me file a subpoena before I have to give evidence over to the State House, and then they can say, yes, the subpoena is active or void. Do you agree with her request? Should she be able to do both of those things independently of the legislature?
Oh, absolutely. I think we really need to support the Legislative Inspector General and all her recommendations.
Representative Kifowit, thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, we're back in just a moment.